Greetings, everyone. Rev.Hawksblood here. I got a few things to go into. Now, considering I'm going to give you the ultimate truth, you don't have to accept it, believe it, or even deal with it if you don't want to. If you have your truth, it's your truth. Where it came from, how you got it, is still depending on where you are spiritually or non spiritually, or where you are just as a human being. All right. Now, it's religion is one way to go in this life, spiritualism is another. Nobody knows. I don't know. I don't think there's anybody that knows how many spiritual paths there are on this planet. But then we go into alien technology and their belief systems, people that say they talk with them, work with them. All right, we're going to go into all that. But the truth, I know very few people want to hear because they think their truth is important. I mean, it depends how they got it, how long it took them to get it. You could do the same mistake over and over and work with the wrong thing and still never get the real truth. There's deities out there, there's angels out there, there's ghosts, there's spirits, there's demons, and Satan's army as well. So there's many things you could be going into that probably are not the most spiritual, religious, for words. I mean, they're not the closest thing to the truth that there is. I mean, they'll try to convince you it is. I'm going to go into the reasons and why and all that in a little while. But I'm dealing with multiple people, multiple top speakers in the spiritual world, in the religious world, and even the people that are saying or trying to teach people how to talk to aliens. I want to start with religion. Religion is quite old. It goes back to the beginning of man's first religion, which was Hinduism. All right. Before that, there was animalism, if you want to call it a word, where they prayed and worshipped animals. It was a religion at that time, but not a realistic religion. All right. To them, it was. There's still people that want to relate to animals today. I mean, if you're running, you think of a tiger and picture the tiger and run. I mean, the idea alone could help your mind stimulate certain parts of your body. And basically, in this world, mankind only wants stimulation in their mind, their body. All right, meaning mind for what spiritually growth and entertainment. But when it comes to activity, it's sports and energy that they create this feeling of bliss in their own way. Even almost dying, falling off a cliff, jumping out of a plane, all these things. It's for that cheap thrill that they get. I mean, then on top of that, they're so bored they have to drink, smoke, do drugs, and everything else because they are bored. They don't know anything about spirit. They don't know anything about God. They don't know anything about death. All they know, planet Earth is becoming very sick and boring. It's going to get, I don't know if you want to use the word exciting, but much more dangerous in the next year or two. And within about 5 to 6 years, we will be in the worst trouble that the world has ever been in. And the human race I'm talking about, not the planet. The planet doesn't need us to take care of it, people. The only thing we could do for it is destroy it. And if we destroy that, we destroy everything on it as well. The planet's not going to stop us from doing it. It can't. Are the angels, are the demons, or even these aliens going to stop us? All right, well, I'll get into that, but I want to stick with this religion idea. All right, Hinduism was based on deities, all right, which they prayed to and worked with, and that's where they got their teachings from. But I don't know if you know much about deities. People pray to them, have very little connection to a real deity, what it is, what it looks like, what it feels to be with it. All right, I spent many years working with 3 different deities, 2 more so than any other. All right, what they teach is not about human reality at all. God doesn't care about human reality, neither do deities or anything else. They care about certain things. And Shiva, one god that was deity, that was accepted as one of the highest deities, was a male, but it was very sexual what he dealt with and brought into reality. And what he did. I mean, there's 2 major stories of what happened to Shiva. And I don't know, the one story is about Shiva and Durga, and one's about Shiva and his daughter and another deity. All right. If you want to read that stuff, go right ahead. You want to believe it? It could be real. But I only deal with the deities in a real reality, meaning out of my body, in an inner dimension or outer dimension, however you want to look at it. and what they want to teach. It's not about building a car, building a spaceship, building a temple, or anything like that. Not at all. When you leave this world, you're a soul being, individual soul being. You don't become part of the bliss, the universal consciousness, and all those other words, which we'll get into when we talk about spiritualism. Religions have been changed over time. Why? Because man likes to change things to fit him. Not to fit the truth, but to fit him. All right? Meaning what he wants to change, whatever they created so far, he'll rearrange it. I mean, we'll come up to the Jesus time, but let's go back to the very beginning of these religions. They were praying to statues. They were praying to... It was deities at first, which slowly became aliens, and they accepted them as gods. And if people want to know the truth is those gods, aliens or not, were not very spiritual, meaning what they taught people. Here's a simple thing. I ask everybody, what does spiritual mean to you? What does it really mean? Nobody gave me a good answer ever for the past 10 years of what spiritual means, because they don't know. I mean, these religious speakers and spiritual speakers talking about religion and spiritualism, they don't know what it means. And to say you're spiritual, how can you say that? What makes you spiritual? It has nothing to do with aliens. It has nothing to do with a religion. It has to do with you as a person. How do you become spiritual? And what does it really mean? The religions through time were debating what to believe in and change things here and there. Now, going back to before Jesus was born, the Hasidic Jewish religion and everything, we were dealing with Moses. Moses was supposedly one of the oldest living people on the planet. All right. He came off a mountain with 10 commandments. He destroyed the other 10. All right. In the interim, after that, he created 613 laws that are ridiculous. The Hasidic Jewish people say they live by them, but they don't. Nobody can. All right. Maybe in that time frame there was a possibility of staying within it, but no, not really, because he has pages and pages about nudity and different things. I mean, it's like saying you have a baby, you can't go see it, and all those kind of things. If you see your daughter's nakedness or your cousin's nakedness, they have to be out. All these ridiculous things. Read them. 613. They can't even keep up with the top 10. Nobody I know wants to deal with the top 10 commandments. And they say, well, they're outdated. Oh, outdated. The 10 commandments are outdated. Why? Now, realize Moses, when he wrote the tablets, only had limited space and abilities. All right. He couldn't write tablets 10 feet tall and then bring them down off the mountain. So basically, he wrote these tablets. He couldn't write every definition of each one of them. But the idea of thou shalt not kill is very easy to understand. Thou shalt honor thy mother and father. Simple things, not complicated. I mean, I could go into why keep Sunday the Sabbath day and holy is because mankind cannot pray 7 days a week and be totally into it. They're lucky they can get a couple hours here and there into it, if they're lucky at that. All right. Even people that do meditation are limited. Yeah, that's a good statement, Richard. Sorry. We are dealing with different people from different realities right now. We all came here, people. We weren't hatched. We weren't created by the Anunnaki. The most ridiculous story that people accept because of Zacharias Sitchin. He brainwashed so many people, especially in the UFO world. They all believe in the Anunnaki as people that created us. Really? All right. There's about, I'd say, 27 alien races that have come here and worked with different groups of people, the government. Russia even talked about it. But the idea of how many actually control this planet, all right, there's very few. There's nine races here directly working against the planet. Not to destroy it, people. They don't want to destroy the planet. What people, well, if they wanted to destroy us, they could. Yes, they could. And they could have done that 30,000 years ago. All right. We were brought from different worlds. Every race came from somewhere. All right. The black and yellow races didn't come from the same seed. The white and black race didn't come from the same seed, even though the government wants you to believe that. And now, I mean, the black and native people are separate, but they joined together during the times when they were going to be killed. They were going to kill the native people. A lot of the natives became slaves. When they were going to kill all the slaves, they ran out and joined the reservations. That's how they intermingled. But it wasn't like they were bred. The first Native American, the first African American weren't born on planet Earth, and they came from different worlds. They were brought here. If you go into the truth of parts of the Anunnaki story, the beginning of time, who was playing with this planet? I'll tell you what I know. Thoth, the Atlantean, all right, was the person that brought the souls down to Atlantis. He was he worked with the Council of Nine, which is the highest beings that control all these lower worlds. All right. And during that time frame, they allowed him to take nine races down to this planet. In Atlantis, there was 9 races. But they were different. They had 32 psychic abilities, which comes off the top of the astral plane. All right. And they all had that ability, which means telepathy, clairvoyancy, and all those words, which means they didn't actually have to do much. They didn't have to talk because they knew what each other was thinking, and they could move things without moving their hands and everything else. It was an incredible time. I call it the Garden of Eden. I was there. It was the most beautiful time on this planet, people. Then alien races came and said, we can't let that go on. And they destroyed Atlantis. But right before they destroyed it, 5 races, left this planet. I could go into that, but I'm not going to. It was the colored races, blue, green, purple, crystal. And they went to different realities because they were more aware. The red, black, yellow, and white races were stuck here because they didn't unfold enough to leave this planet. I'm not talking about going to another planet, going to the next dimension. The next dimension, people, is the astral plane. All souls that die that leave this reality go into the astral plane. They might not stay there long, or if they do, many will stay between 5 and 10 years of our physical time and come back as reincarnation. But during this time frame, they are seeing things and seeing different things of reality. And what happens when they reincarnate? They forget everything. And that's sad because their karma when they left this world is critical. Buddhism created the actual word karma. And it's the most important word you need to know when you live life. Means whatever you create will come back to you one way or another, good or bad. Not like you can pay it off with money or you can bribe a person. No healer can take it away from you, people. None. None of that powerful on this planet. Nobody ever was. And nobody will ever be that as long as I know, as far as the way mankind's moving now. Oh, there's people coming out saying this, that. I just saw a video, a workshop going up. This one guy talks to God. Really? Now, Walsh claims he wrote the book, How to Talk to God, Conversation with God. I challenged him 20 times to have a debate. I mean, Danny Brinkley, I don't know if you know his story. I debated him in public in front of 13 people, and he crashed. What he said was incredible truth, but imagine him just actually saying what he really was and who he really was. So I have an ability, which I spent my life working for, is the ability to deal with truth only. I don't deal with lies. I don't deal with false stories. I don't make up stories ever. There's no reason to. I'm aware of aliens, Bigfoot, creatures, entities, deities. I worked on possession. I worked on depossession. I mean, all these words that happening and are created. I went through them all. All right. I had 5 death experiences. I dealt with an alien close up. I dealt with ships coming down. One was coming up, left my brother. I dealt with all that. It's all real, people. But did it change me? No, it can't. I'm a soul. And when a soul is becoming an aware being, nothing could really hurt it as based on its own karma. And how do you know what your karma is? You don't. 99% of the people on this planet have no idea how bad their karma is. They don't know they're going to have to return. And in this lifetime, they usually create more karma. People don't know how to live without creating it. And this is something that has to go. It goes with anything. The first most important spiritual law that exists on this planet, and nobody deals with it, is the law of non-interference. I mean, the story of aliens can't interfere with us. They cannot, but they do. The law of non-interference means when you interfere in somebody else's reality, you're causing more karma for yourself. in that person. All right. Now, that person that's going to get the karma that you give them is based on their karma. When you shoot somebody and you go to the hospital and you come walking out, you stick somebody with a pen and they die. I mean, karma is how the outcomes of things happen. Until you pay off all your karma, you're going to keep reincarnating to this planet, no matter what religion you're in. All right? Hinduism, Sufi, Ekankar, and I'll tell you, there's only 2 religions that teach something very important, which no other religion teaches. And it's about learning how to leave your body and traveling into the inner worlds and meeting higher angels and traveling. All right? But who taught that? Only the Sufis started, and then it became whirling dervishes. And Jesus was teaching, not saying, I'm going to heal you, I'm going to protect you, I'm going to do all this stuff. No, he wasn't here to protect everybody. He was teaching them. He didn't spend his whole time in with these people telling them how to love each other. Oh, you got to love each other. How do you teach love? You don't. All the things people push on Jesus is a lie. He didn't take everybody's sin. Everybody that does something different has a sin. Realize he told his people at that time frame, go out and commit it no more. It means don't ever sin again. That's what he said to these people. You think people could live like that? Somebody told you never to smoke again. How long could you deal with that? Never to drink again. How long could you deal with that? Never to have sex again. How long are you going to deal with that? You can't deal with that in this reality in 99.9% of all cases. Then you have to interfere with people. All right. Adding stories, changing stories, all those kind of things. And then actually the worst part is hurting people. How many families are together that don't hurt each other? Every mother and father usually abuses their child in some way. Not just hitting them, beating them, making them move from their friends, and all these other kind of things that they do to their children. Not letting them have the right girlfriend, or not letting them. How does a person know when a child is an adult? I say, when does an adult become a child? 90% of the time, if they drink and do other things, they're not grown up. They don't have control of themselves always, and you always have to be in control of this body. If you're in a car driving down a highway at 90 miles an hour, you think you could sit back, not a Tesla car, you sit back, close your eyes, and I'm driving. You think that's going to be okay? No, it's not. This body is capable of doing many things. Unless you keep an eye on it, it'll fall, it'll slip, it'll do a lot of different things that you're not aware of because you're not controlling it. Soul has very little control over this body because the mind is a computer chip inside your brain, basically, that controls everything you think you know and know. And that's where you create your truth from. 99%, I'm not saying most people, because I haven't met any that are beyond that. All right? Is he for real? Okay, somebody asked me about Bob Lazar. I'll get into that, but he's real. All right, people? He was the first person to actually talk about UFOs and being next to one. All right? You think people are ever going to believe him? No, government makes sure people are haters and put them down and say different things. They'll never admit what he did. I had a friend that wrote Left at East Gate. He was there when people were training themselves because they had nuclear reactors and weapons, and it was under this base. A ship came down. They had an 8-foot wall and tried to beam through it and everything else. He was there. When he saw the ship land and everything, he didn't know what was happening. He went to the town bar to call his family up. And then when he went back, they arrested him and put him in this thing down in a room with aliens. He said, I had no clue why they did that to me. But then he was forced out of the army. For 10 years, they took his social security number, everything about him away. He couldn't even prove who he was. He wanted to go back in the army. He was so desperate. His book, Left at East Gate. Yes, the person that helped him now is calling him a liar. I was with him in person. We were together for about 5 days. And that was before he even wrote the book, because I'm trying to write this book and get it out. But, there's people out there, when they come out with the truth, they don't last long. For me personally, 15 of my friends, I'd say 5 of my best friends were killed. All right. One of them was just disappeared. I don't want to get into the story, but he disappeared, his whole family, within 1 week. All right. Many of them were, supposedly committed suicide, which is another lie. When they want you to leave, they either poison you or let you commit suicide. Now, I want to tell you this. I don't know if you know what East SETI was. Not the East SETI Ranch and everything, but SETI, when it was first came out, There was two. One was run by the government, and one was run by private people. I was friends with the president and vice president of the one run by private people. And the president was a woman, and I was talking to her a lot. And she said to me, they came into our office and injected us. And they said, you can't do nothing about it. She went out to the Indian reservation for 2 weeks, came back, and says, I'm deathly sick. She died 2 weeks later. The vice president died 3 weeks later. And then you never heard of SETI again. All right. They have a funny way of removing the truth. They did. And that's basically MJ12, which is still in existence. It grew in numbers, but I knew one of the first MJ12 people. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. I never met Bob Lazar. I don't know him personally, but I totally believe he's telling the truth because he went through all this stuff and what they did to him and why. I mean, he's still alive. But again, very few people they let live when they talk about anything close to the truth. And basically they said he's too far out there, so nobody will believe him. But element 115 is real, isn't it? It was actually classified as an element now. All right? So when he came out with that many years ago, nobody believed it. So people, it's so hard to tell between all these liars and spiritual people who's telling the truth and who's not. I tell you this, you're very seldom going to get any real truth from outside yourself. And I'll get into that when we go into different ways other than religion. I studied religions. I studied 20 religions, 15 religions here and there. I went through 5 religions directly. Then I studied a couple more and realized not one of them, not one religion can talk about a real God. Christianity, it has to be Jesus. Jesus was real, but I'm not going to get into that yet. But God, they can't talk about God. They don't know what God is, what it does, what it did, and what it creates, and how it thinks. So to say you believe in God, that's like believing in the fairies or Superman, Batman, any of those words. If you don't know it, you can't talk about it. And you shouldn't classify that as your protector. I mean, God protects me. From what? You're gonna you jump in front of a car, you're going to get hit by it, period. You're going to fall off a cliff, you're going to probably die if it's a real high cliff. So when you say you're protected, you're not protected in the physical reality. People don't understand that. God, angels, deities, don't talk about Earth, all right? They don't teach you how to live on Earth. Everybody says, I'm talking to aliens, I'm talking to angels, I'm talking to Michael and Gabriel. Really? What are they telling you? Get a different job and change your hair, get new wardrobe. What are they talking to you about? They're not going to talk to you about this world because you're going to be here such a short time in the reality of soul itself. Soul doesn't die, okay? And if you don't remember any of the other lives, it's useless having that ability. If you were reincarnated 100 times and you don't remember one of them, what good was it? What was good was all that time you spent trying to get to where you are now. You're supposed to be the best you have ever been in this lifetime. So if you're a homeless person or if you're doing drugs, guess what? You couldn't have been too much better in many of the other lifetimes. Not saying you could be working your way up to the top of the ladder, pull off, and then can't kill somebody. Obviously, you're stuck. Now you got karma, and you probably won't be able to pay it off in one lifetime. And then when you reincarnate, you probably won't remember all your lives after that again. So it's a very hard, the most hardest path you could choose to follow on this planet or any other planet in the universe, becoming spiritually aware. And I mean that for real. Very few people know what spiritual means. All right? What? I donate money. I help people. I pick them up. I buy it. It's not about other people. You are the one that becomes spiritual, not other people. Going out and do doobie medals and doing honor things to get honors and stuff isn't going to give you the spiritual awareness you think you're going to get from it. You could be a great person, giving your whole life, but you didn't learn what you came here to learn. No religion, 99.9, except Ekankar, Shab Yoga, Whirling Dervishes, learn about that. All right, about after death and what soul is and how it works and what it can do and what it doesn't do. All right. Now, there's spirits that stay here because they don't deserve the right to go beyond that. If you're working with a spirit or what do you want to call it? Your mother, your father's spirit, okay? And you're working with that, obviously they didn't go too far because they didn't get away from this reality. Once you leave this reality and you go into the next one, there's no reason you have to come back unless you have karma. If you worked out your karma, you can stay in the next world. If you're an aware being, you could go beyond that. You go into the next 3 worlds. Astral world is second. Then you got 3 worlds to the soul plane, where soul dwells. All right. It can go beyond that too, but I'm not going to get into that. But until you realize any of that, you're nowhere. I'm going to get the best job. I'm going to be a preacher, minister. They tell you lies their whole life, and you think they're going to go to a spiritual place? Well, I believe this. You believe what? Did God come down? Oh, yeah, I talked to God, and what did he say? I should do this. Really? You think God cares about what we do? Do you really believe that? This is hell, people. Hell. And when you learn that, you understand why you're here. Hell wasn't a place to go be pushed into. It's a place to get out of. All right. Aliens are no better. They're a lot worse than we are because they don't have feelings and emotions. All right. When people say, "Well, we need to talk to aliens," they're not aware of anything, especially any kind of truth. I'm going to read you 2 letters in a little while. That one I wrote to an organization, one I wrote to another organization about what they're talking about. But I just want to keep with this for a little bit longer. Religions are many. I mean, they may feel good. You may be around a lot of people. Like when a born again, and they have these big seminars, and the preacher's up there. They got 20,000 people listening to them, and they're all screaming and yelling and stuff. You touch energy spreads into everything. Like if you ever notice, and we tried it. You're in a room filled with maybe 200 people. You go, "Achoo!" And then it just stimulates that idea in other people, and you hear sneezing all around the room. So it's an energy that spreads, and it could be a good energy, it could be bad energy. I mean, a good energy is, well, we're all going to have money, we're all going to be able to be successful, and everybody takes that energy and says, "Yeah, I'm going to be." Do you remember when The Secret came out? All right, the person that was involved with The Secret thought he was spiritual, claimed he was. All right, he did a sweat lodge, which is a native tradition. He built an igloo hut, whatever you want to call what he built. And he brought all these people inside it, and he was setting a fire inside, and had the smoke inside the room, and they were all dying. I think 3 people or 4 people died. 12 people had to be brought to the hospital, and it was in court for 20 years what they were going to do with him. He didn't really he didn't try to forcefully kill them. He didn't know he was killing them. He thought he was going into bliss when they were hallucinating and becoming exhausted with the fumes. It was a horrible thing. I know they came out with Secret 2. The Secret 1's no secret, so you better watch out for Secret 2. Or how you can just get things by wishing on it. Wish upon a star. It's the same as belief in something that you don't know what it is. Follow the rainbow. Go and grab the pot of gold on the other side of it. All these things children are taught, and they realize somewhere along the line they're not real. I mean, Santa Claus, Easter, all those things that they're programming into children screw up their reality. You don't lead them to junk and then try to tell them the truth. You give them truth at first. And they grow much more aware, and they can become aware of what they see and know. Children are so close to spirit and entities as well. And if there's nobody protecting them or helping them or working with them, they don't know the difference. How many children say, "Oh, I saw a creature thing under my bed"? Does the mother believe them? No. Do they know how to exercise it? No. All the things that, when you create a family, you have to realize you're responsible for that. If you can't teach them anything, why do you bring them into this reality? So they could grow in this horrible reality that's growing? I mean, I'll say that near the end, but right now, what are we doing for our children? Nothing. Does the government care about your children? No. And now they're making you believe. I'm not going to go into this detail because I'll lose this video. They're going to make you believe something's important for your children to get now. Really? Poisons in the person's body is no good for them. The vaccine for the flu is 3 poisons, people. How do I know? My brother was a chemist and worked for the company that made it. And he doesn't even know what the 4th ingredient is, which is probably super toxic. Now that they're putting the chemtrails all over the world, they're putting, I can never remember the word, microscopic entities or whatever you want to call it, programmed creatures, whatever, I don't know how to describe them, into it. So you can inhale it, and they're inside your body. I mean, what's going to happen in the next 8 years is really scary. Because it's called UN Agenda 21-33. 2030, meaning by 2030. It started in 21, which means it started last year. Guess what? What started last year, and it's going to end in 2030 when we are one world order. Now, people say that's crazy. No, no. Realize 193 countries agreed on this years ago, many years ago, agreed on it. 5 presidents said we need one world order. Well, sweat lodges are a really good place to go in to pray for yourself and get into yourself. I mean, it opens you up and it makes you open up, the same as torture does or as anything else. It's a simple, not a super torture, but it is torturous, especially if you stay in the full time, don't run out and hang out, crawl on the ground and things. But getting back to where we are. Okay, our time's running out. All right. What do we want to do by the time the world ends? Have 10 more children? You think that's going to help anything? You need to understand who and what you are as a soul, not as a human being. Humans have their own things to do, sex and food and eat and pee and all those kind of things. Soul doesn't. Soul doesn't have a solid body. It doesn't need any of that. And you know what Jesus said about that? It's not what goes into the body, it's what comes out. What do we release from our bodies? Disgusting things, don't we? All right, that's why we're not pure. I know a Buddha said a long time ago, if you drink your pee for a long period of time, it becomes clear. But you can't eat anything else. All right. Again, there's stories and there's beliefs and there's many different ways you can go. But what do you want and what's the fastest way to get to it before the end of this planet or the end of your lifetime? Nobody lived past 125 in reality, right? What you hear, what they say, and everything else. I'll tell you, when Moses walked around in circles, it was for about 40 years, right? And the people he brought out died. The children were the ones that went to the promised land. And when they got there, what did they do? Kill everybody that was there to take it over. That's a religion. That's a spiritual belief. Really? Moses comes off the mountain and his one commandment says, thou shalt not kill, which he wrote on it, right? And he says, kill those 300 people. Or all the people that he called demons. He said, I'll call them demons, so this way we can kill them. The same thing they did to the native people. What do you think they called redskins? Because the devil was always related to red skin. And it made it easier for them to kill the native people. The stories are horrible. If you know the truth about any of them, they're all pathetic. It was the white race, I mean, it's the British and the English that scalped the native people. Because when they brought a scalp back, they got $50 or $100 for it. Depending on if it was a child, a woman, or a man. So again, I mean, the native people cutting fingers off and making change with that. I mean, it was never a good thing. War is never a good thing. Killing is never right. It's never just and never fair. All right. And as long as we stay in that vein, we'll never move forward. And people, I'll go into the UFO stuff after, but let me finish this. We have to realize where we are, what time frame, what we are involved with. Now I'm going to try to read you a letter. All right. Let me read you the first one, or I'll just pull the idea off of it. Okay, no, that's not the one I want to do. Let me do the other one. Okay. This was a group of people that talk about different things, and it's an incredible big site. She has all the big speakers on it. But one of them is going to be talking about Tantra and how sex and spiritualism grows together and all that. Well, I said, dear Deborah, Hinduism is the first religion after animal worship. Sadly, man created it. The deities they work with were very much into sex. Sorry, any form of sex will not take you into a higher spiritual place. Never. Not in the physical plane. But that goes against most of their beliefs. I have worked with Shiva and Green Tara. I mean, the deities themselves. All right. Shiva was the destroyer creator. Green Tara, was a teacher of compassion. All right. If you know the story of Shiva, there's 2 different stories. One, Shiva had sex with Durga and she cut his head off while they were having sex. The other one, Shiva, was he cut his you-know-what off to make the whole village suffer. And that's when the phallic symbol became very important to the Hindu people. All right. Realize they are working in the lower worlds of God. sex is still number one experience for most people on this planet. The money people make with money needs more sex. I mean, the more money they get, the more sex they think they can have, and more women they could go with. If they're not married, even then, if they are, they can do more. All right. Sorry, Kama Sutra, Tantra sex was made by man. It doesn't take you to a high spiritual place. It may stimulate your body to the maximum spiritual level you can take. But you're not going to get past the astral plane no matter what you do. Okay, basically, it's only one of the 5 passions: lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. And I break them down to sex, drugs, drinking, sex, make-believe love, cheap thrills, sports. All of them are the cheap thrills that keep mankind here. Most people think their truth is important. Even people, like I mentioned, Neil Diamond Walsh, talking to God, I debated him. He says, I'll send you my new book. I said, I wouldn't want to read it, period. You're saying the same thing that everybody says. God wants us to be loving, compassionate people. Where did God say it to who? And who can prove it? Did God come down and, oh yeah, well, I talked to God. God's talking to you? Why? Are you better than any other person on this planet? You're not. Because you don't even understand God. God's not teaching this world about love. We would be in love, and we would have stayed in Atlantis. It would have been the Garden of Eden forever. Well, just check out some of the concepts, Kama Sutra sex. And I know people that were involved. I was going to do a UFO conference, and she wanted to have a week long of Tantra sex. I said, no possible way. I'm not linking my workshop, my seminar with that. I'm not going to get into that. But again, when you talk about God, do you have any clue what a God is? It's not in our body. We weren't created in God's image. It was written by a man, not by God. Where do you see a carved thing in the mountain saying, you are in the image of me? You don't. And it's not true at all. Moses was the most highest black magician that ever lived on this planet. And why? When you kill something, it's called black magic. When you save something, it's white magic. All right. But okay, I'm going to skip that. All right. I'm going to go back to where we were. Religions are not beneficial to become spiritually aware. You go in there, they repeat a psalm or something, then they talk about it. Do they know what they're talking about? When was the last time you went to church? Well, I don't believe in church. What do you believe in? My truth. What is your truth? Where's it going to get you? What are you going to do to get there? Make money? Buy a house? Have 10 more kids? The more children you have, the less love you can give to all of them. That's a fact, people. You have 100 kids. You think you can love them all the same? And you won't. Most people can't love 3 children the same. The same as those children can't love the parent the same way either. We force our children into a horrible place all the time. When you don't know something, you can't teach something to somebody else. All right, I'm talking about religion. Let's move to the other word, spiritualism. What does spiritualism mean to you? You could write. Anybody want to write it in the chat room? Go right ahead. Anybody want to come online? The link's there. It should be there. Hold on, let me see if I can put it there anyway. This should be the link. All right, if you want to come on, personally. I don't like writing, so I usually tell people to Skype me. I like to see who I'm talking to so they can see who they're talking to as well. I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheat. I'm not a drug addict. I'm none of those things, people. You may think I am because you don't know the truth about many things. I died 5 times. Each time gave me greater and greater information and awareness about different things. But none of it had to do with planet Earth. Sorry, people. This isn't the best place to be, ever. When you experience the astral plane, you'll think it's better than here. If you ever get past the astral plane, you'll realize that was hell below you. Seriously. It's not about family, people. Realize you were married many times in multiple reincarnations. And somebody says, well, I want to be my mother and father. In this lifetime, what about all the other families you had? You don't want to be with them either? Why? Because they're dead. So it's your mother now, or father. People don't realize the truth at any level, don't even try to. They take their programmed truth, squeeze it into a ball, and stick it back in their head and believe it. Most of your truth is a lie. And I always ask people, and I do this when I do a workshop, on a piece of paper, write God is and God isn't. Draw a line down the middle. And you can't say God is everything. You have to write down everything you think God is and everything you think God isn't. All right? And I guarantee everything you wrote on both sides are wrong, because you have no clue what a God is, what a God does, what its responsibility is to the lower worlds. It has a responsibility. That's why it allows deities, little gods, and angels to work down here. It can't get involved with this garbage. It's not a person. It's not a solid being or any kind. It doesn't sit there thinking about, oh, that guy has to eat cookies today. Oh, he has to go to the bathroom. Do you think that would interfere with the way you think if you had to think about that all day long? How would he tune into the only time you pray? I mean, it's a ridiculous idea that man created for himself. Religions are man-made. Spiritualism is now a different way. It's about people that have no awareness, that don't want to believe in religion, go some other place to their mind and stories. Right? Most New Age people believe the universe is the universe consciousness. All right? When they die, they become part of the universe consciousness. All right? What's the universal consciousness? What's it like? What's it feel like? Buddha taught about the bliss state. I think you need to go there first. It's not that hard. The bliss state, you'll be in one with the energy, the light and sound that comes down and the light and sound that goes up. You'll be in that. And you don't do anything. Just live in that vibration. You can stay there for a long period of time, but the longer you stay there, the less you're ever going to want to leave it, or even know that you can leave it. I mean, if you loved ice cream and you just kept eating ice cream and the woman getting sick, you would keep eating it. But imagine knowing that you're going to get sick, you might want to leave. All right. Most people that stay in the bliss state don't stay there for a long period of time. And then they do want to get back to it. But the bliss state is just what it sounds like, a bliss state that you can stay in and vibrate with this vibration. But it doesn't mean growth, and it doesn't mean awareness. You're not growing in awareness, and you're not going to grow past the astral plane. I'm not going to go into detail about Buddha. There was 4 Buddhas, but I'm not going to go into that, because it never talked about God. Buddha never believed in God. All right. The highest entity, being, whatever words you can put together to create an idea of what you think God is so far above any reality that we can even create, think, or imagine. Well, God's going to protect me. God's going to protect you from what? A bomb hitting the planet? The planet blowing up? What's God going to protect you from? And God's there to teach you what? How to pray? What are you going to pray for? More money? Bigger house? Your son's sick to get better? That's what you're going to pray for. You're going to pray to understand God? Understand the higher worlds, which you can in time if you become a little more aware of what you're doing. It's about growth of soul, not mind. Government's trying to create a mind greater and greater than what it is, which means further and further away from what you truly are as soul. Most people don't want to hear religion. They want to hear UFOs. They want to hear this and that. But they want to accept the idea that aliens are going to come here and help us. All right, people, I'm not a liar. Like I said, I can only feed you the truth that I know, experience, and the main people in my reality that I truly trust 100%. When I worked with a person from MJ12, he told me things. I don't know if I could have believed him at that time. I did, but he was killed before he gave us something that he said he was going to give us. And I'm not going to go into that. But here's the thing, people. Spiritualism is growing. More people rather believe in spiritualism than religion. Both of them are leading you down a rabbit hole. All right? Because they're not going towards God. Energy, light, and sound. Yeah, it comes out of God and goes through all these worlds down to here. But what reaches here is so limited. The light and sound that you feel and work with is limited. In your whole life, I know you're not aware, but did you ever see a person's aura radiate far away from their body? I'm talking like 100, 200 yards from their body. Ever? You ever see a spiritual person walk down the street, in a store, anywhere? Well, that's what they radiate if they are. And I'm not saying this out of ego. My aura was pretty big. When I went to New York, they had the aura, taking pictures of your aura. The lady wanted me to travel with her. She goes, your aura is incredible. I want you to work with me. I couldn't speak Spanish because I need you to speak Spanish. I said, no, I'll never learn it. But I didn't want to go anyway. But have your aura taken. If you ever go to a New Life or Whole Life Expo, they usually have those kind of Kalyan cameras. Takes a picture of your aura. All right. And then right next to that person, there was a person doing auras of your hands. That's all that looks like mine. He goes, oh, no, you can't have an aura like this. It takes 2-3 years for me to train you to become like that. He goes, I'll take your picture, but if it's good, I won't make you pay for it. I said, okay, it's a deal. He took a picture of my aura, of my fingers. He was blown away. He said, how can you have that? I said, easy. You become an aware being. All right. And your energy changes. The things around you, what you radiate and create. Sure, I could do stupid things, which actually hurt me in the long run. If I killed somebody, I would lose 90% of what I worked for. But people have to realize what they create. The word karma is the most important word to deal with. Not how much money you're making. Not how big your house is. How expensive your car is. Now, spiritual people believe they're all connected to people. Why would you want to be connected to anybody else on this planet? Never mind any other person in the universe. Why? What reason? To think like, oh, I can rob a bank, or I could have sex, and all the things that people think? When they all die and squeeze into this big bubble and they're all thinking, what, one? If you became one, you would think like one. You can't all think differently and be the same. It's ridiculous. Oxymoron idea. All right. When you separate things, if you're thinking about God, you're not going to be with these murderers thinking about robbing a bank and killing people or this or that. You shouldn't be. Shouldn't want to be next to them. And you have the biggest decision in what you're going to create for the rest of your life. In this lifetime, which will also change how many lifetimes you have to go after that. You can work all your karma out in this lifetime. If you do the right things and know the right things. If you understand God, you understand deities and angels and all those other words, you have much more knowledge than anybody else. People in this word, spiritualism, know nothing about God. Listen to what they say, what they talk about, the light and sound. That's only a vibration that comes out of God. It has nothing to do with God itself. And it's weak here because picture God way up there and sends this beam down like a flashlight. You see this beam coming down. Go 10 miles from that beam. Do you see it? How strong is it? All right, it gets weaker and weaker. Through each realm, it's less and less. If God ever came down to this reality, really, people, you think this world would be able to stand the vibration? It could not, period. And it wouldn't. So why do you think God doesn't come here? But God gave us free will to grow in a spirit, meaning soul. Soul's awareness, not your ego. Ego has nothing to do with soul at all. You need ego to understand that you're a mind, soul, and a body. But when you think the mind's better than anything, you're into ego. Ego is the worst thing to break. Paradise is for the blessed, not the sex obsessed. Well, sex is limited to this reality. Once you go past the astral plane, people, you're no longer male or female, and there's no such thing as sex. Do you want to go there? Probably not if you know that. Because you're so in tune to sex. Sex is the root to all evil next to money. When people have a lot of money, it has to do with sex. Always. The richest people go to Vegas. What do? That whole city turns into a sex club. The whole city. People, wake up. Don't listen to what anybody else says. Don't even listen to what I say. Prove what I'm saying to yourself. See what people talk about, what they're telling you. God loves you. Does he? Why? What did you do to deserve God's love? Chris Christopherson sang a song, Why Me, Lord? All right. And I listened to it. I was going through a separation with my wife, the whole thing. And I would always say that to myself. Why? Why do I deserve God? I'm losing my wife and all that. But it was an awakening. Do you deserve God? First, you got to tell yourself why. Oh, I'm a good person. What do you do that's good? Oh, I donate money. Donate money? Churches all say you got to donate 40% of your salary. In all religions, that's the number they suggest, 40%. You think Musk and Gates and any of them are going to donate 40% of their salary? I mean, when Musk donated 5.7 trillion billion dollars, that's what percentage of his money? 10%, 5%, 1%? Think about it, people. Money is the root to evil, and it always will be. Native people didn't use money. Tribal people never used money. And they lived in harmony with each other until there was no food. And when the food runs out, people change. Now, that's going to happen soon in the United States. It's already happening. The farms are being wiped out. Gates is buying every farmland he can. He wants to eliminate cows, create synthetic meat. All right, and feed you that. On top of that, we got Musk putting more satellites in space, making the signal going around the whole planet, which will slowly interfere with everything here. So rich people don't do anything beneficial to the human race. When it comes to drugs, drugs are created to keep you sick. How many drugs out of the millions they make are to heal and solve and remove a sickness completely? Very few. I'm lucky my partner had the one that does work, the hepatitis 3. It's $70,000. It's $1,000 a pill. Think about that. Is that right? Do these people deserve that kind of money? Really? Oh, they worked hard on that. They work hard on every medicine they create. They don't make billions of dollars off of it. The money that medical make is what big corporations use to control the planet. I don't want to get into that whole industry because it's sickening. It's very sickening what they're doing and how they're going to do it and how the New World Order is going to come into play. All right. Getting back to spiritualism. It's a belief system man creates and changes whatever he wants whenever he wants to change it. Whatever he wants to add to it, he adds to it. Whatever he wants to remove from it, he removes from it. But none of it pertained to God. None of them pertain to the higher realms, not the higher dimensions. Higher dimensions are part of this reality. Higher realms are part of the higher dimensional realities. All right, of God, not this reality. It's separate. They are separate. When you go through the second and third dimensions, which we're talking about now, like CERN, pull up CERN if you don't know what CERN ... is, I mean, between each letter, what it really is and what they're doing, what they want to do. Now that Japan and China has the rights to link animals and humans together, guess what they're going to be doing? Guess what's happening to the planet? Nothing good. We haven't did anything positive spiritually in 30,000 years. Does that bother you? It should. Oh, well, we do meditation. Really? And where do you go? Talk to angels? Talk to aliens? What are you talking to? What information did you get? All these people can say they do this. Show us what you can do now that you did. All right, I'll go back to when I was 16. I was a high priest. I had a covenant of 13 people. I didn't read books. I didn't know what I was doing. I did it by what I felt. I mean, I wasn't a black witch. I was a white witch, all right, for a word. But I was using 30 of the 32 psychic abilities, one at a time. The only one I wanted was the one I couldn't do, obviously, and that was levitation. But as far as controlling and sending thoughts out and creating energy and doing all those things, it's easy. But what on this reality, in the present day, it's not beneficial to the planet. If you were a psychic and could perceive 1 minute in the future, you could become the richest person in the world in a very short time. Go to any casino. Start with $100, put it down. Start with $1,000, put it down. Put 1,000 down, 100,000 down. There's rooms where you can, and they do it. All right. So realize the psychic abilities will never be used wisely because how many people are really spiritual? None. Name one. Dalai Lama, the Pope, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Oprah. Who do you want to name? The 5 top names aren't that spiritual as they claim. I've been trying to get in touch with Oprah for 25 years. She claims she has no karma, and she claims she has no ego. Really? All right? When people claim things, you really got to watch it and see where they are and what they're doing. I live my talk. I walk my walk. All right? I don't change what I believe in because somebody says, well, no, you're wrong. This is the way it should be. No, I know the truth. You can't change the truth. No matter who comes and who goes, the truth will always be there. All right? Whatever race you are doesn't make you better or worse. It's what you do. All right? Now, I'm going to try to read the second letter that I wrote this morning. All right? This is Craig. He's a, quote, spiritual person. Incredible sight if you believe what he says. I asked him, I said, do you know anything about your true soul? If a voice is talking to you, can it be a soul, an entity, a demon? Could it be? What can it be? And how do you know what it is? How can you prove that? Hopefully you know the difference, which most people do not know. Second, it is an entity that could have a protection for you. They could say they give you protection. If you have an entity around you, and you don't know who it is or what it is, guess what? That could be a very bad thing for you. Okay, there are few souls truly spiritual on this planet, but they won't stay here long. There's no reason for them to. I mean, I'm going to get into something right after this. Spiritual on this planet? No. Somebody totally aware? Name one person. And you're not here to save the planet. You may think you are, may think you can. Mankind thinks they are important. The same as aliens think they are important. But they make us believe it and we listen. Well, at least in the old days, mankind listened to aliens. Because they weren't dealing with God, they were dealing with aliens. All right. I challenge these people, and I said, if you like what I say or you don't like it, you want to debate it, please. Live or not, I'll debate you offline, online. Very few people are willing to debate somebody. Because at that time, their truth is up on the line. And if they blow it, people might hear it. I don't want to destroy somebody publicly. I met a really famous person. In front of 13 people, I debated him. And he finally stood up and told the truth. I was amazed. I mean, when I hugged him at the end of it, his energy was incredibly higher than anybody else in the whole room, or all of them together. But he says, I'm going to spend the rest of my lifetimes trying to pay back what I did. All right? That's an aware being. I came back for a reason, one reason. And it took me up until a couple years ago to figure out what that reason was. I'm not going to tell you, but it took me my whole lifetime to understand the real reason why I chose to come back. I didn't have to. Souls can come back. They usually come back if they're attached to something. I wasn't attached to anything. And I still chose to come back for one reason, which over time made me realize and see crystal clear what it was. So I got my karma broken. And that's the same thing you need to do. Why are you here? What is the reason why soul comes into this horrible mousetrap of a world, sick with disease and angry people? Why? Why not go to a beautiful place, a beautiful city? The cities in the beyond the astral plane are incredible. Some people give them mental, etheric, soul, mind world, the mental world. I mean, then I'm sorry. The astral plane is the lowest next to us, and people go there and have to stay there. All right. The silver cord keeps any soul from here going past that plane. It's called the silver cord. People don't even talk about that anymore. People don't even believe it. Well, I can't see it. Well, why do you think if you get thrown out of your body, you come right back to it? You're that aware, you know how to travel through space and get back into your body? Well, then go out of your body, go to Mars, come back with a stone from it. Do something that proves it to yourself, not to me. Not to prove anything to me. You need to prove everything you believe to yourself. And is it really going to help you? Anytime after you die. Is there anything you know that can help you when you die? Ten Commandments aren't going to help you. Praying's not going to help you. Wishful thinking's not going to help you. Are you ready for the truth, people? Really? All right. Now, I'm going to go into the last word, aliens. I was next to one. I dealt with multiple ships, and you name it. I was next to a Bigfoot. I did exorcisms. I did depossessions as well. Call it what you want. I met with demons. I met with a lot of different things in my travel on the inner worlds when you leave your body. And when you can protect yourself from all of that, you become an aware being. Give me one split second. I don't think this person, hold on, if they are trying to come on or not, but I just want to see. I don't see it. Oh, skip that. I just, in case somebody wanted to come on. But we're going to talk about aliens for a little while. They have been here a long time. They were here before we were here. Yes. And what mankind's trying to do right now is understand pyramids. The most important thing, I guess, in their mind is what were pyramids really used for? All right. Think about that. Why would you be so concerned about what something was used a long time ago? Well, they had all this technology. They had all this. And so, where are they? They're not here anymore, are they? Did it help them in any way? Of course it didn't. Technology is another root to all evil. It's not making us more spiritual. It's not making us more aware. Unless you call aware of the universe more aware, which it isn't. Aware of demons and spirits and entities and those kind of words? No. But I'll tell you this. One day, very soon, I'll do a whole show on just the Montauk and Philadelphia experiment. What nobody talks about or can. All right? And it was the first most important UFO thing that ever happened on this planet. It actually changed the planet completely. The next important UFO thing that happened on this planet was Phil Snyder's story. If you don't know what it is, look it up and read it. We had battles with aliens on this planet, people. When people like Stephen Greer face me one day ever, I'll do anything to face you publicly. That aliens are good. Anybody that says that has no clue what they're dealing with. If you deal with a demon, an entity, they're going to say they're good. Deal with an alien, they're going to say they're good. Oh, I'm a bad alien. I'm going to eat you. Are you going to? Is that alien going to tell you that? Watch the movie V. That was a TV series. It shows you how it could go down real easy. I mean, the ship surrounded the world, and they were taking people up there, building them up, making them stronger, and teaching them how to heal people and all this, while they were turning them into food. And then they used their certain things to make children. But again, they have the ability to lie. Basically, that's all they can do. They're not going to tell you the truth. Satan himself doesn't want you to leave this lower realm. Watch the movie Lucifer. Lucifer isn't the devil, but it was a good series based on he was the son of God. But it's a good show. But it opens up your mind to think about what it really is. What Satan was, what Lucifer really is, what demons are, and those kind. Oh, I don't want to think about that. Why? Because you work with them? They control half of the planet or even more now. Why do you think people do what they do? You brought up in a nice family, nice friends, everything else, and you go out and stab somebody. Why? Why would you do that? I watched a special a long time ago. It showed children of possession. Under 5, going into the bedroom, stabbing their brother, throwing their cat out the window, and all these things. Why? Why would something do it? Now, this is something you have to understand, which nobody talks about ever, which I am probably the only one that started to talk about it. Aliens are reincarnating into human bodies. Why many people think they're walk-ins or they are aliens and everything else above that. If you remember any of your past lives, you're going to remember you were an alien. Does it make it better? No. Are you better? No. Because you don't have the psychic abilities that you had when you were in that body. Aliens are able to use a couple more abilities than we can in a greater way. Not 100%, but a much greater way. Now, a lot of people say they see the alien walk through the walls. We had that ability. We don't have it now. A lot of the great spiritual masters in history, if you read their stories, they walked through the walls, or they were in two places at the same time. One was them and one was their soul body. Because a body cannot hold two souls, even in possession. I know most people that do hypnosis and work with that don't understand that. Soul has to step out and let that body take over. Otherwise, you'd be controlling the body. When you work with possession, I suggest if you ever think about doing that, you need a true spiritual protection. And you have to understand and know what that is. Without it, you're not going to be able to do anything except make things worse. If you watch The Exorcist was based on a real story. It was a boy, not a girl. But two priests died during the exorcism and everything else because they weren't protected. The Pope, and this is no lie, a couple of years ago hired 1,500 people to do exorcisms. And they didn't even have to be a Catholic because they know that many people are being possessed right now. All right? And what people do, they don't know it. And even when people are completely possessed, they still don't know it. It takes other people to see it within them. You never acted like this before. You never did those things before. And it takes other people with a little more awareness than that they have to see it. But once you get, for instance, Bob Dylan did a video, it's online, and they were talking to him. He said, what about Satan? And they go, he said, I sold my soul to Satan. Seriously, he said this live. And he said, after I did that, every song I write turns to gold. No matter who I give that song to, it becomes a gold seller. He said, I'm not the only one. So they actually believed in that a long time ago. And when people say, don't sell your soul to the devil, some people want what they can get. Even if it means reincarnating back here, I could still do the same thing over and over again and have that much more fun. See, the idea of fun is to keep you here. Soul doesn't get pleasure. It doesn't have the nervous system, 5 senses that we do. Its abilities are different. Its senses are different. Not like smell, taste, and feelings and emotions and all that. It's different. All right? You can't chop a soul's head off. You can't chop it in half. You can't burn it. You can't freeze it. Can't do anything to it. All right? So soul's a different reality. And if you want to leave this reality, you've got to pay off your karma. And people say, well, I'll take it to the 6th dimension. Yeah, that's where you're going to go. What do you think is going to happen there? What do you think you're going to become? What happens when you die? Where do you think you're going to go? All right. Aliens are not good in my book. All the people I worked with in my lifetime, which was many, I never charged money for anything I did. I did past life regression. I was the first person to do it. Seriously. What's her name? I never remember her name, but she claimed she invented it. And that was 10 years after I was doing it. All right. Basically, I was doing hypnosis, started when I was 13. By the time I was 16, I was doing group hypnosis. By the time I was 20, I was doing past life regression and psychic implant removals. All right. Did I have books? Anybody telling me how to do it? No. All right. Now, when a person's possessed, can you help them? If you're an aware person, you can. But the other thing is they have to want help. The law of non-interference is the most important law. Unless they ask you for help, you can't help them. I pray the world becomes spiritual. I pray the world becomes loving beings. It's an invasion of 90% of the planet's space. Or all their space. Did they ask for it? Did they want it? Sure, some people want a better life than they have, a better this, a better that. But you can't tell somebody to have it or make them have it. You don't have the right to. You're not God. Nobody on this planet is God. To play the role of God is ignorance. To think you have that ability, like conversation with God. Really? Why doesn't God say something important ever? But people listen to simple lies and believe it. Spiritually aware means, did you figure out what it means yet? Out of this whole workshop, talk, whatever you want to call it, do you understand what spiritual really means? I'll give you a few more minutes to think about it. I was born Caesarean. I was born big. I was born like this when I was in the hospital. All right. I became aware of everything at 6 years old. Don't ask me how, why, or what. I didn't ask for it. I didn't know. My mother wasn't teaching me anything, and my father sure wasn't. He was abusive in every which way to me. All kind of horrible things would happen to me after that point. I'm not going to go into the details in this talk today, but basically, when I realized I was protected by God itself, I became aware of what was going on in realities from the soul plane down to this realm. It took me a lot of time to understand each one, how to get into each one, and even be able to get to the higher ones. But it all mattered about paying off your karma. How much karma you brought in from your last life. Now, here's something you need to know. If you become aware of all your lives, think about what you did in your last 5 lives, because that's going to be where you got most of your karma from that you're dealing with right now. Did you kill somebody in your past life? You can reincarnate maybe a few more times just to pay that karma off. Did you rape somebody? I mean, all these little things. Well, I prayed and they asked for forgiveness. They forgave me. No, you don't get forgiveness for what you create. If you kill somebody, you stop the chain of the planet itself. You change the history of the world. How many families could have been born out of that? How many families could have came out of that, became president, vice president, or governor, mayor, and all these other little things along the way? A scientist that discovered the cure. All those little things can't happen because you decide to kill one person. Not saying that person might not have got married, never had children or things like that. But what if that person was? When you shoot a bunch of people in a school or a church, you don't think you're destroying perfectly normal families? What's happening now is possession, people. Why do you think a kid would go to church and start shooting people? Or school and shoot everybody? I hate my teacher. Did they learn any morals? Morals doesn't exist anymore, people. Do you know what the word morals mean? We don't have them. Do you know what sex changes does to a person? Oh, it's good. It's beneficial. We change our morals to fit reality. If I want to become a devil, I put horns in my head. And people say, well, look at these aliens. You change yourself to look like anything you want now. Michael Jackson went from black to white. You can change what you look like. Male, female, entity, creature. People tattoo their eyes completely black. I think it's one of the most dangerous things you could do, but they do it. All right, people do things to look like other. The one girl that looked like a Barbie doll for real, spent tons of money doing that. I mean, one guy put all these body implants in his body to look like Superman. I mean, people do weird things, and you can change to look like anything you want now. So they say aliens are walking this planet. Somebody just put up 57 aliens are walking this planet. Really? They all came on a ship. They all got here, and they're walking around. How? So, the stories get better and better as you listen to them. Become more and more lies. Drug companies are evil. Medicine's evil. The native people always believed whatever sickness you can get, the cure is in the plants around you. That's a law of nature, believe it or not. You live in a city, guess what? You're not near any plants, you're not near anything. But the rainforest has the cure for everything on this planet, if you know which plant and how to use it. All right. See, we lose the truth. We lose reality. We lose who and what we really are. So we accept we're human, living in a human reality, and responsible for it. You're responsible for what you do. Dolores Cannon, right. Okay. The only utopia we have was Atlantis. It was the Garden of Eden. Greetings. Glad you stopped in. I'm almost over. Sorry. But here's the thing, people. If we want to look at reality, look at what's happening. We're in the worst place we have ever been in. And people don't accept that. Oh, no, this is heaven. We're going to get everything. It's going to be beautiful soon. It's not going to be beautiful before it gets downright destroyed. And that means when UN Agenda 21 happens, all right, it's slowly happening now. When it finishes, you're going to have one world order, and it's going to be destruction. Complete destruction of the planet. Meaning a big percentage of people are going to leave, have to leave. FEMA camps weren't set up for not a good thing. The underground cities aren't there for not a good reason. And nobody talks about that. Not one person talking about the environment talks about the real problems. Why is that? Al Gore was paid millions of dollars to come out and bring out the word global warming. Well, everybody has their ideas, but very few people talk about the truth. What is causing global warming? I could do a whole 100 shows on that, but I'm not going to. What can cure you of the virus? Something very simple. That's all I'll say. If you get it. All right. I'm not talking about before you get it, after you get it. All right. What they do to you when you have it, pump water into your lungs. You think that's going to make it better? No, this is something a little you add to that to change it, make it cure. I can't go into that. I can't say that. But if you search out, the truth's out there, people. All right? Do you want it or not? Do you want to live in this fear? And Stephen Greer goes on about how they're creating fear by saying we're going to have an alien attack. We have fight aliens 3 times major in space, 2 times on planet Earth. In the United States. I don't know what Russia did. I don't know what China did. But we're already fighting with them. So to say they're good, all aliens are good, you got a problem. And you're programming people the wrong way. Stephen Greer is setting up groups of people to learn how to talk to aliens. Did he come out and tell you anything important that an alien told him? What alien race is he working with? Yes, we all go through super hardships all the time. My worst was my childhood. I'm not against that. I have a book out. You want my truth? It's part of it's in there. But here's the thing, people. We need to focus on yourself. Look in the mirror. Stare into your eyes. Ask yourself questions. Why am I here? Not to save the planet, not to save the people. You can while you're here, but that's not why you're here. All right? We can cause a ripple in time to demolish our reality or create a new one. But it has to be more than one person to do it. And it has to be an acceptance because you can't do anything yourself without destroying or using the word, the law of non-invasion. I mean, the law of non-interference, but basically you can't invade somebody's space to make them believe they have to do something to save the planet. All right? We can't. Not singularly. Nobody can. Now, what I wasn't going to get into, which I might do for the next 10, 15 minutes, might scare everybody away. And if you're going to run, that's your choice. I'm not a religionist, people. All right? I studied 15 religions, and then I studied 100 or 2 more after. I mean, in less detail. The 15 religions, I went into detail with years and stuff like that. But here's one thing I learned. They know nothing about God, nothing about death. So where does that leave us with religious teachings? Nowhere. Then spiritual people talk about being one with bliss. Why would you want to be one in the universe as one consciousness? Again, why become God? Really? You think you are that pure, that aware to be that? Really? What would you do if you had that ability? Change the world, make it perfect? God could have made it perfect if it wanted it perfect. That's what ignorance is. All right. Now, I want to go 2 places. Remember, Jesus is one, and time travel is the other. Well, I'm going to stick with the time travel first. We went back in time, people. We destroyed the time bounds of where it can go and what it can do. Somebody died when we went back there. Just 12, let's see, how many years? 21 years ago, somebody was going to be paid $4 million to go back there to rebalance what happened when we went there the first time. Mean kill somebody else. And basically it was changing reality, changing our government system. And I'll tell you, I know the person went back in time and did something. Because the next time I saw him, he was about 20 years younger than what he was when he left. And I think Einstein said when you go through time, you get younger. Well, he really did. He changed to 20 years younger than when I saw him when he left. But here's the thing, people. When we affect one thing in time, just one thing, it alters reality completely. You take it and multiply it by 1,000 and add it by 1,000, it just keeps growing. So one child having 10 children, 10 children have 20 children. Just look at it that way. We have been here anywhere from, I know I have been here 300 times. I based it on my awareness of my lifetimes, the average age that a person lived in those time frames, and to the time frame that we're at now. And I was my first reincarnate, my second one was being aware in Atlantis. So that's, I say it's about 40,000 years. Multiplying the average lifetime and divide it into that. It's large numbers. It's not like 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. It's more like 1,000 times for some people. Maybe a couple hundred, 500 for some people if they become aware in each time. But it takes a lot of, whatever you want to call it, ability to become aware. The desire to find the truth. And the most important desire is trying to understand God. Not what mankind said about it, not what the Bible said about it. You're going to believe what Moses said about God? He wrote the 10 Commandments. God took his magic finger and wrote on a piece of clay. He said, here's the 10 Commandments. Why doesn't he give us something greater than that now? Because this is hell, people. And one day you'll face it and say, this is a planet of suffering, pain, abuse. It's not a planet of bliss. All right, the masks that we're wearing, it was removed from the United States. The only place that has it is where I live, Hawaii. They just released wearing masks everywhere in the United States except Hawaii. And we still have to wear them. So it's a good step because it was a lie in the first place. I mean, they were making these specific masks that everybody was supposed to buy, but there was too much proof that it wasn't stopping anything. All right? I mean, a couple of people in politics said, let it go. Let it do what it has to do. People's karma is just, people. If you get your finger chopped off, you get your head chopped off, you deserved it from some karma you created. It sounds horrible, but that's what karma is about. You're in hell. You don't get good things happening because you're a bad person. All right. Breathing is our life force. We contaminated our air. Drinking is our second life force. We contaminated our water. So everything that keeps us balanced and in harmony and alive is toxic. Let's not talk about the food we eat. That's 10 times to 1,000 times greater in toxicity. So where are we going, people? Think about it yourself. You don't need me to make you think about that. You should be thinking about yourself. What am I doing here? What is the right step? What is the wrong step? Do you think if you're a bartender, all right, it's a good thing to become? It's spiritual. It connects you to God. Getting people drunk, letting them go out on the street and have accidents. What you do with your life is critical. Just helping people. Oh, I'm going to help them up. These people that are donating big bucks, we already talked about that. What does that mean? They don't have to pay their taxes now. Again, is it beneficial for spirit? Does it help you learn any more about God? Any more about death? Of course not. Nobody wants to talk about that in any great extent. And I said their names twice. I'm not going to say any more people that say they're talking to God, and God said this, and God said that. God would come down and tell the whole world if it wanted to talk to us. Doesn't need a spokesperson to speak for God. Jesus didn't speak for God, people. Do you know anything about the truth of Jesus, no matter what religion you're in? The Venetians, whatever you want to call them, the beings in Venus do not know anything about Jesus, just so you know. I know one person that supposedly came from Venus, and I asked that question. We believe that Jesus was an alien. All right? I was there, people. I was a female in that lifetime. Mary Magdalene was my best friend. I got to be with Jesus right as before and after they killed him. Mary had his baby right after he died. Seriously. They don't ever talk about that, and they won't. I mean, when the movie came out. I can't even think of it. I'm sorry, I'm brain dead with that. And they said that Jesus probably had Mary Magdalene probably had a daughter. I wrote a book just before that movie came out, and I didn't want to go into detail because I didn't want anybody want to throw the book on the ground before they even read it. But I knew it. All right. The fact that she had a daughter, Jesus never saw the daughter while he was alive in a physical body. But the idea of Jesus teaching love, you can't teach love. And he taught about protection. You can't teach protection in the physical world. You'd have to stay in a steel box and have food fed in and everything, have the right air tubes coming in and everything. You're not going to walk the streets and be protected because there's crazy people around you all the time. You're in hell. You don't walk around with angels. You walk around with demons running around the streets. And so you can face that. How do you think you can move forward? How do you think you can understand why angels aren't here telling us and teaching us? All right. Muhammad met Gabriel, per se. His brother told him he was working with Gabriel. Read what Gabriel taught Muhammad. Read it. I'd say 36 things, and every third one contradicted the one before it. Gods, angels, deities don't talk in riddles and stupid riddles. Jesus had to. He was working with people that were very dumbfounded, for a word. They were farmers, fishermen, no schooling. They ate, they lived, they died. Love wasn't even a real thing until Jesus showed it. How could he show what love was? Mary and Mary Magdalene. And when they saw that, how he loved her, what he did for her, he taught her everything he knew, all his abilities, people. Because when Jesus was killed, she had to finish teaching the disciples. How could she teach them anything if she didn't know it? Now, I only found this out, which I wish I found out maybe 30 years ago. They got Mary Magdalene's skull in a temple, in a shrine in France. They even said they think it's the most spiritual skeleton on the planet. They said if they took it out of there, it could probably heal people. All right. I was really close to Mary Magdalene. That's why I would have loved to see it in this reality. All right. But again, she had to leave. I don't know her story after she left. She had to go into hiding with her daughter. Thomas went and left with her. They didn't go to the same place. Thomas went to China and taught Jesus' teachings. They called him Jesus because he was doing his teachings. We didn't have name tags. I'm Thomas. He had a small beard. He had a robe on. So they named him that. That's why Jesus was seen everywhere. But when Mary Magdalene left, she went to France. And she taught there for a while. I don't know what happened to her daughter. I really don't. But the Knights of Templar still respect Mary Magdalene. This temple has her skull there, and as they said, it's one of the most sacred bones on the planet. So obviously they believe in something about her. But here's the thing, people. When I was with her eyes changed after she got married and had the daughter. She had the same look. If you looked into Jesus' eyes, when you looked into her eyes, you would know what you needed to know. And I'm not going to tell you why, anything else, because I don't want to tell you how and why I came here and all that. But it had to do with that, all right? No other reason. Not because I wanted to come back and have sex or have drugs or have family or any of that. But for one particular reason. It had to do with Jesus and Mary. But here's the thing, people. We need to find why we're really here. There's usually one reason you're going to reincarnate over and over until you experience every aspect of that. Even if it's just how to love somebody, you'll experience every level, hate, fear, and all those words to get to the point where you actually understand what love is. And it's not loving a person. And you shouldn't love a people as much as you love God. People come and go. God never does. God could always be with you, always, through infinity, if you're unaware of it. So the reality that people are telling you about other things, yeah, all people here live a lie. They believe the lies. They accept the lies. And they think they're good people. They think they're right. And they think their truth's important. Nobody's truth's important to anybody else, first off. And is it really important to you and the planet? You leaving the planet is the most important thing, because then you're getting away from the veils of Satan, demons, and aliens. They're going to be coming here, really. All right, they are starting. I mean, we've been killing them and everything else, but they're going to be coming. They're going to probably make a deal with some idiots like Stephen Greer, calling that. I'm sorry, the word for that. He has a different viewpoint than me. That aliens are good. They're going to help us. They're all good. What race are you working with? What race do you think can go beyond the reptilian race, the draconian race, the Greys, the Nordics, the Mantis, Draconians? All right. How many races can go against them? None. Take the most spiritual person and the most evil person into a battle. Who do you think is going to walk away? Jesus didn't walk away, did he? And he was the most spiritual person that ever walked this planet, people, whether you believe that or not. He taught the truth about God, not about religion, not about planet Earth, not about love, not about kids or any of that. He taught and tried to teach people how to get out of the body and how to go back towards God. Because when you finally reach that state, every realm that you go to is a million times better and greater than this reality. Because once you get past the astral plane, pain, suffering, all that disappears. So does sex. But guess what? You don't need any of that. In your mind, you do. All right. I'm coming to the end. I did enough today, I think. But anybody that has questions, please Skype me. Hawksblood, HAWKSBLOOD 11. It's Hawksblood 11. All right, friend me, and then I'll get back to you. Set up a time to talk, whatever. I don't like typing. I'm a very bad speller. I had a reversal in language and speech and everything else. Forget it. I can't even say the words because I say them backwards and everything else. But I put things backwards and stuff like that. So even when I get my books edited, people can't even figure out what I'm trying to say, and they'll rewrite it to something totally different than what I'm trying to say. So it's really hard for me. I'm on my 5th book, and I never wrote a book about aliens. I don't think they deserve it. My first book is How to See God. Then my second book is When Truth is Called Crazy, and Truth Beyond Illusion is my 3rd book. But my 4th book, the most important thing, is The True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization. All right. I know people don't want to read it, especially Christians. They want to believe what they're programmed to believe. I'm sorry, people. I can't lie. I don't lie. And I won't teach false teachings. I'll never say aliens are good, because they are not. They're real. They have their own agenda. The United States, the Russians, everybody has their agenda. So does every other race. Whether it's let's find food, let's find water, let's find spaceships, whatever it is, it's an agenda. And on this planet, there's very, very few souls that are truly spiritually aware. I haven't met any, but I know there's supposed to be 4 on this planet. All right, you know how you can tell if somebody's spiritual or not? Or if there's spiritual beings on the planet? Rise up above it and see this glowing orb on the ground. Not lights, not flashlights, beam lights, a real glowing orb. Because they do radiate energy. And the aura around them is incredible. So aliens can see that. And they can't touch it. Just so you know. If you want protection from aliens, that's the first thing you do. But how do you become aware? How do you become spiritually aware? There's techniques, there's ways, things you got to do and practice and understand and accept. All right? Not believe, accept until you can prove it, and then you will move into it. Saying you're aware without being aware is useless. Believing you're aware without knowing you are aware is useless. Awareness is all that matters. And the only thing you have to be truly aware of is God. Everything else will fall underneath it. It'll come to you. If you can understand the first, you get the second, third, fourth, fifth, and everything else that goes along with it. But until you do, you're going to believe these speakers, these spiritual so-called high priests and high ministers and UFO speakers. About, oh, they're good aliens. Oh, I meet with them all the time and they talk to me. What did they tell you? Why would you want to meet them? Didn't you learn? I'm going to just say this story. My partner's a Buddhist mama. She plays guitar. She wanted to play slide guitar. And there's this big native person in Hawaii that plays it. So he came over to try to teach her how to play. He was drinking, got real nasty, and he claimed, he went in, he goes into the Saint Mount St. Helen, and he talks with the aliens down there. They come to him every once in a while, and I said, like, well, what do you know? Well, I know everything. And he's drinking, and he's nasty, and all those words. So what did he learn? And what are they teaching him? Think about it. Think about what you could learn that would make you a better person. And think how you would find that. Going inside yourself. I'm doing a workshop. I was going to do it today, but I'm going through so many things the past couple of weeks. It's crazy. But hopefully I'll get back to that, because I do want to get into the deepest part of that, which I didn't do yet. Because it's time. Time's running out, people, to become aware. Because when they declare martial law or any of those things, you're going to be forced to suffer, starve, and all those other words. It's not going to be pleasant soon. Why do you think all the richest people, including the president, Obama, Trump, and all these people are buying land and islands? What do you think for? Trump bought an island with this wall protecting it? Why? Realize what they're getting ready for. You think they're going to tell you? Why do you think there's underground cities, people? You don't even care. You don't even believe it. That's your choice. It's always in front of you. The New World Order, just so you know, has to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. Denver Airport, it said it straight out, U.S. New World Order. Right there, and steel in the floor. They ripped it out 2 years later. They had all these horrible murals around the whole airport. Not one person asked the question, why is that so disgusting? Why is that here? Why? They didn't want to know the truth. Behold the Pale Horse tells you all about it if you want to know all about Denver Airport. But I had the picture of the floor. My computer was swiped, scarfed up, and they stripped it. But I was probably the only person that actually took a picture of the flooring that said U.S. Air Force New World Order. It's actually an airport base for the ships to come in the near future. Like I said, the proof was there, and they showed it to people. They told people, and then they removed it. The horse outside. Look at the reasons why there's a black horse with blue eyes out there. Red, my colors. But think about it. Look at the facts, people. They're there. They're always there. Second floor, there's a little plaque, this big, says U.S. New World Order. They left that there. But again, are you ready for the truth? Do you want it? Do you want to move forward, or do you want to reincarnate again? If you like it here so much, reincarnate again. But you won't know what you know right now. Remember that. You'll start all over. Some children that are a little more aware when they die, as they grow and they die, come back in the next lifetime with a little more awareness. They might perceive their last life, which is definitely going to help them in this lifetime, because they will understand what kind of karma they had and they were dealing with in that lifetime. Should they create more, remove it, or what? But it's an incredible place to be if you're an aware being. I'm not going to say I'm spiritual. I never do. I never said it in anything I ever did. I say I'm on a spiritual path. When you become spiritual, people, you leave this world. There's no reason to stay in hell. You're not going to change Satan's army into a good army and then leave. It's not going to happen. Jesus wasn't here to save the world, and he didn't try to. But his own people helped kill him. Remember that. All right, people. I hope you got something out of today. Send this link to anybody you know or can if you want to, please. I'll be doing a real workshop in the next week, I promise. Unless something else major happens again. But between me and my partner going to the hospital and everything else and all these different things going down, I don't want to give you my burden. It's my karma. It's when you marry somebody, you take on karma of another person as well, people. Just so you know. Get married 10 times, you got 10 times more karma than you did if you didn't marry anybody. So, I mean, is it a good thing? Sometimes. But if you're separating from a person, going to another person, something's wrong, right? And then that's more karma. So think about it. Think about why you are here. Look in the mirror. I'll give you a quick technique. When you're looking in the mirror, close the lights down If you got a red bulb, green bulb, blue bulb, put it on so that there's a little bit light so you can actually see yourself in the mirror. A black stone or a black mirror, like even your cell phone, look into it. Don't stare. Don't blink your eyes as much as you can't. Don't try not to. And just let your mind stare into it. You're going to see past lives. You're going to see a lot of things. It's that simple, people. Do it. I'm not going to give you a lie. It's simple. If you believe and accept it. Oh, I can't do anything. Well, guess what? It won't if you don't try. If you don't try something, don't say it's wrong, right, or good, or bad. I tried just about everything. I learned the good stuff and the bad stuff. All right? And hopefully you don't do the bad stuff again. So with that, people, love, light, compassion, whatever you need in your life, don't stop until you get it. Remember, life doesn't last forever. 125 years isn't incredibly long. And most people don't make it past 80 or 90. I'm going to hit 70 next year. I never wanted to go past 50. All right? But here's the thing, people. You got the ability to change that right now. And it's not a matter of how many years you have left. It's what you're going to do with the time you have while you're doing something. So do something, people. Not listen to every person out there. Okay, peace. Till next time.